Hello you lovely people of the internet, and welcome to today's video. Today I'm sharing with you all my March setup in my bullet journal, and even though this video is going up quite a bit later than what I was hoping it for, and I'm assuming by this point most of you guys would have already set up your March journal, but I still wanted to go ahead and share with you all what I decided to do, since I know a lot of you guys really enjoy these bullet journal setup videos and they're one of my favorites to film and edit and just do in general, so I wanted to make sure that I at least got up this video even though it would be a little bit late. So nonetheless, I hope you guys enjoyed the video anyways. Before we get into March, I wanted to flip through February and show you all how the month ended up turning out. Overall, I really enjoyed the setup I did for February. All of these spreads I found very functional. I did decide to experiment with a new weekly style because I am starting uni in March. I've already started uni by this point. I am recording this voiceover. I wanted something with a little bit more structure and something that would let me have an overview of the week so I'd be able to plan ahead for my classes and homework. And so that is what I decided to do, and that is the spread I ended up coming up with. So I'm going to do that again for March and see how I get on with it while actually being in school. So that aside, that was how February ended up turning out. So let's begin with the March cover page. So my theme for March, I was really debating on what to do. I wasn't exactly sure with what theme I wanted to go with, but I knew I wanted to do a theme. And while I was sort of doodling away on some scrap paper while doing some other work, I ended up drawing a sort of a girl that was floating in the air with a string and wind around her, and I decided to color one of those strings red. And then I decided to look into the theory behind the red string of fate, and somehow with looking into that and then being even more drawn to it, I decided to center my theme around the red string of fate for the month of March. For my cover page, I decided to go with a girl just floating in the air with a string around her and her holding onto some red yarn. I originally was going to keep the background white, but as you will see in a little bit, I am going to color that in to sort of make it resemble the night sky, but I did encounter some problems with this, so I will get into it as the sort of coloring process continues. But if you are curious about the products I've used or materials, I will list everything in the description box like I always do. And if I can find the specific colors I used or color families or whatever, I will also list that as well. So that will be all there if you want to know what I've used. But for this cover page, I mainly used my Tombows, and then I wanted to do the rest of it in watercolor, but because I hadn't used watercolor since I had done my general sort of setup for 2018, I had forgotten how this paper reacts to watercolor. It doesn't really spread, it just soaks up the water and the pigment. So I decided just to do the base layer in watercolor, and then I'm going to go over it with a black pencil and a Tombow marker to color that in. But so you will see that process. It was a little bit tedious. The cover page actually ended up taking up the majority of my setup time, but the other spreads were very simple because I'm not really all that comfortable with using red. It's a very bold color for me, and to be honest, a little bit intimidating to use. So I wanted to keep the designs for this month very simple and almost minimalistic, just something very simple with hints of red, so it wouldn't look overwhelming for me. So I decided to go with the colored pencil on the bottom and then layered over that with some Tombow marker. I think that's one of the grey colors. The thing was, even though it did work, I don't really recommend using this technique because the pen sort of feels funny now, and also because of the pencil, the black layer is just waxy, so when I went in with my white pen, it wasn't really taking too well to the page. So I would definitely recommend, if you want to do something like this, maybe do it on a different piece of paper and then stick it in, or do it on your computer and then print it out or something like that instead of doing it directly into your journal. I was a little bit lazy and I didn't want to do it that way, so I just decided to go with it anyways. And this is what I ended up with. There is a little bit of bleeding on the back, but it's not really too noticeable. And I did seal this with some hairspray. If you don't have the sort of proper paper sealant, you can just use hairspray so the colored pencil doesn't transfer or anything like that. So that was my cover page, and now I am working on the next spread, which is my calendar overview, and it is pretty much the same as last month. I really enjoyed the size of the box and the layout. I did make a little mistake in the bottom. I accidentally made a extra box, so I went in with a white pen, but it wasn't really covering it that well, so I ended up just going in with some whiteout and covered that up with that instead. I would probably recommend getting the whiteout that's in that pen version, because I feel like that would work a little bit better for thin lines instead of using a paper whiteout. For my sidebar, I really enjoyed using a expense tracker for last month. I found it very functional, so I am doing that again for this setup as well. And then to tie in the red string theory, I just drew in some like red lines over the double page just to make it look like a string was floating through. And then before I finish up this spread, I wanted to show you all how I am filling out my expense tracker. I basically just put down the date, what I spent it on, and how much I spent. So that was my monthly overview, and now we are moving on to the next section, which is the journal. I am keeping everything the same again for this month. I liked the amount of space that I had to write. It gave me the flexibility of writing as much as I wanted or as little as I wanted. But because there are 31 days in March, I didn't really have a big highlight section, so I am omitting that for this month. And then on the bottom, since I had a little bit of space, I just drew in 2 balls of red yarn and some string just coming out of that. It's a very simple spread, but it gets quite cluttered because there's a lot of writing, so I like to keep it very simple. Then the next spread that I am creating is my quote page. I actually ended up messing up. This was supposed to be where my brain dump is for this month, but I drew it on the wrong page and I didn't want to go ahead and rub everything out and redraw it, so I just decided to keep it here. It is just a summary of what the red string is about, and the drawing that I'm creating right now in the bottom corner is actually the drawing I doodled and sketched when I was thinking about what concept I wanted to do for March. It is obviously a lot more different because it's a more finalized version, but I just decided to do that. I am thinking of maybe recreating the cover page with like watercolor and making it into an actual piece of artwork and being able to put more time with it and manipulating the watercolor more, because it's not really possible in the journal. Because of the paper, it's quite limiting, but yeah, I think I might recreate the cover page in my own time, or if you would like me to film that, let me know. But yeah, so this is the quote page, and then the next spread I am working on is my habit tracker section, and again it is the same. I haven't really changed up the design of any of the spreads in terms of functional monthly spreads. They're all pretty much the same. I did change up one of the symbols, I believe, and I just took one of those out because I wasn't doing it, so I just decided to take it out entirely. And yeah, so I'm actually really happy with the title page. The title for Habit Tracker, I've been trying to get to this sort of lettering style for quite a while, and I'm so happy that I finally got it in like 3 months. So again, it's a very simple layout, but it's quite functional. I did also decide to fill it in because I was filming this, I think, on the 2nd or the 3rd of March, so I just went in and filled it in so you guys can see what it would end up looking like. And yeah, after I have filled in my tracker, I'm going to work on the second to last spread for this setup, which is my brain up section. And for this month I just went for something very simple, and I am also from this month onwards calling it Little Gems. It was suggested by somebody underneath the January bullet journal video. I can't remember who it was, I'm sorry, but thank you so much for the suggestion. It's actually so cute, so I decided to go with that. And then the final spread that I am creating in this setup is my weekly spread. So I have a column dedicated for Monday to Friday, and then I've combined my weekend section. I have a little sidebar with a mini view of the month and the week we are planning on highlighted. I also like to have a review of the week, somewhere where I can reflect on what worked and what didn't work in terms of productivity wise and just anything in general. I also am putting in a quote like I have always done for my weekly spreads, and then I decided to make a little section for having the top priority things for the week. And here you can see I am drawing in some grey roses. These are the same roses from my Life in a Bullet's February setup, but I off camera went in and drew in those roses in the other areas of the spread and setup just to tie it all in. But yeah, this is my final flip through of my March bullet journal setup, and I just wanted to say that you don't have to make your bullet journal as artistic as I like to have it, but your bullet journal is whatever you make of it. If you want to make it artistic and very creative, you can go ahead and do that, or if you want to have it simple and functional, you can also have it that way. There is no right or wrong when it comes to creating your own bullet journal. It is what you make of it. Yeah, so I hope you all have enjoyed this video, and let me know what you are doing for your March setup. I hope you all have a wonderful day or night, and I will see you all in my next video. Bye!